Hey, what's up everyone? Today is Saturday, July 25th. It's 12:03 a.m. and the temperature's a cool but rather nice 22 degrees Celsius. I'm currently walking south on Yonge Street, and this is Bloor Street that I'm approaching. The plan for this walk is to head south down Yonge Street through downtown to Front Street, and then I'll head west over to Union Station. Just to the right there is the Yorkville neighborhood. And right now we have a scramble crossing, even though there's not many pedestrians out at this hour.
What time it is?
It's 12:04. Cheers. I have previously done a narrated walk down Yonge Street, I think about a month ago. That was during the daytime. So this one's going to be a bit more casual than that. Rather than trying to explain everything around me, I'll just be commenting on things. There's Chick-fil-A, which will be open today, but it won't be open tomorrow. As the owners don't operate it due to religious reasons. Although they have a clever trick on some of their American locations where on Sundays it rebrands as a different restaurant, just to get around that. There's the Brass Rail, one of the city's few remaining adult entertainment parlors, I guess you could call it. I don't really know. They're obviously not open right now. For a Friday night at this hour, it's certainly, or I guess you could say it's Friday night, Saturday morning, it's certainly a lot less busy than usual. The bars and restaurants in the city are limited to serving customers outside only. And what's happened throughout much of the city is a lot of the bars and restaurants have opened up patios onto the sidewalk. But I don't think they've been doing that on Yonge Street. I haven't been down here on a Friday or Saturday night at this hour, so it'll be interesting to see what businesses are open right now. Probably very few, maybe some fast food restaurants. There's the Panasonic Theater. Of course, there's always a chance on Yonge Street that we'll run into some of those interesting characters that like to hang around downtown. It looks like Popeyes is open. This is Isabella Street. There are some bars down there that are open. There's a Korean bar called Iwa that has a rather large patio in the back. So I imagine that would be quite busy right now. If you're wondering how I got here, I took the subway down from where I live at Yonge and Eglinton. It only took about 10-15 minutes or so to Bloor-Yonge Station, where I started this walk. From Monday through Saturday, the subway runs from 6 a.m. till 1:30 a.m. And then the only difference on Sundays is it doesn't start till 8 a.m. But if you're caught out in the city after 1:30 a.m., you're not out of luck, as there is a blue night bus. I think it's the 320 Yonge Street bus that you would take. It runs where the subway normally would, except on the surface level, of course. So in effect, it is a 24-hour service on Yonge Street. Although if you are with multiple people, it might be a better idea just to share a Lyft or Uber. Typically, that's what I do when I need to get home, if I'm intoxicated. Right now, I think I'll just I'll be able to take the subway. I won't have to deal with the bus anyways at this hour, as it should still be running. Just want to cross over. I think the other side of the street will be a bit more interesting. Some people affectionately call the blue night bus the vomit comet, as you tend to have a collection of younger, not quite sober people on it. I haven't had that experience in probably a good 10 years. It's certainly a very social bus to take. I imagine that won't be the last time we hear some random screaming like that. So this next major street we'll be approaching is Wellesley. There's a subway station there. And just off to the left, which is to the east, will be Church in Wellesley, otherwise known as the Village, which is a pretty lively area. This particular stretch of Yonge Street isn't super busy usually on a Friday or Saturday. It's generally a bit more south, especially around the Yonge-Dundas area. But it's still much quieter than I can remember it being at this time. So this is Wellesley Street. On the right is Wellesley Street West, and on the left is Wellesley Street East. Yonge Street is the main east-west divide. Wow. I just kind of raised my hand like, what the hell with that guy? He didn't seem to care. There's a fairly interesting person not having a good night, it seems. There's an interesting store to be open 24 hours. Limit 5 customers at a time. I can't imagine there being 5 people in there. If you do prefer the walks where I'm silent, I of course will continue to make those. Generally what I do is I will mark these narrated walks and bicycle rides as narrated in the title. So you can use that to sort of filter which ones you prefer to watch. I'll also probably group them into playlists as well. And on that note, I just want to thank everyone for all their support recently, as it seems as if it was just a week and a half ago the channel hit 9,000 subscribers, and now we're almost at 10,000. The last few days have been particularly busy on the channel. Had a few days of 20,000 views. So things are definitely picking up. So just a big thank you to everyone for their continued support. And if you do want to see more of these late night walks, let me know in the comments. I've started doing more night walks lately, and some people have reacted positively, requesting more of them. But those ones I recorded a bit earlier than this, but I kind of like the peacefulness of it being late, like at this hour. Of course, I mentioned in my last video, without all the American tourists and all the 20s and 30-somethings that do flock into the city on weekends from the suburbs coming in, it's certainly a lot less busy, in addition to, of course, the limited bar and club situation. Yonge Street isn't really known for its bars and clubs so much. Not sure what this van is doing. And coming up here is Carlton Street on the left and College Street on the right. And here you'll find College Station. So this will be the 3rd subway station so far this walk. Sorry. Just a look down Carlton Street. It is a bit unfortunate, as if I did have some change to spare, I would have. I'd usually have a couple of loonies and toonies in my pockets rattling around that I don't necessarily care to have and feel they'd be better off with someone who actually needed them. But these days, almost everything is tap to pay. In fact, I can't even remember the last time I used my ATM card to withdraw cash. Here's another Popeyes. Certainly seen a few police cars at this hour, but there doesn't seem to be too many people out causing problems. This bar is open, but obviously only to takeout. They don't have a patio. Looks like there's some good old-fashioned contact information swapping going on over there. So soon we'll be coming up on Ryerson University, and then it'll be on to Dundas Square, where Dundas Station is, and across the street is the Eaton Center. The last time I walked through there a week ago, a lot of people commented at how loud one of the street preachers was. He was on the southwest corner, right in front of the Eaton Center entrance. I'm pretty sure if his volume knob went up to 100, he somehow found a setting for 500, as it was obnoxiously loud. So hopefully he's not there tonight. Again, not that I have anything wrong with free speech. People do have the right to express themselves. It's just there should be some thought and consideration towards the enjoyment of others. All right, we're running into construction here, so maybe I'll cross the street. Speaking of obnoxiously loud, that's how I would describe those motorcycles, especially at this hour. There's one of the countless cannabis stores that's popped up on Yonge Street next to Zanzibar. One thing I've noticed, I live in a high-rise in Midtown, is pretty much every night of the week, all night, there's been motorcycles ripping up and down the street. So I guess some people took it upon themselves to be particularly obnoxious. Oh, there goes that. It looks like a hospital helicopter. That bar, the warehouse, must have a patio around back. Otherwise, I'm not sure what the heck those people are lined up for. This is the Ryerson University Student Learning Center.
Y'all watching.
That guy looked at my camera and gave me a really weird look. That place is certainly one of the beneficiaries, I guess would be the right word, of this coronavirus. Here's one of those expanded sidewalk patios I was talking about earlier. There's a guy riding his bike down the wrong side of the street. I guess it's better than riding on the sidewalk. And I spoke too soon. So this is the intersection of Yonge and Dundas. That's the Eaton Center across the street right there. And this, of course, would be Yonge-Dundas Square. The last time I was here a week ago, they had the fountains turned on, but they're not on right now. I don't think they keep them on this late anyways. At this intersection, you can get on the subway at Dundas Station. For those that are interested, I'll probably come back here maybe in 3 to 4 weeks' time and do another night walk at this hour on Yonge Street. But on that one, I'll keep my mouth shut, so it'll just be the ambient sounds of the city. This is probably the most recorded street I've done on this channel. It certainly would be up there along with Queen Street West and Bloor Street. Those three are probably the most popular and well-known streets in the entire city, at least in the downtown section. You could make an argument for King Street as well, but I don't think it's quite on the level of popularity as those three. So that's still the Eaton Center on the right. That'll continue on down to Queen Street, where we will be passing Queen Station. And then we'll be in the financial district. Yonge Street's had a reputation of being a bit of a wild street in the city, at least traditionally. It certainly feels a lot calmer than its normal self during COVID. In general, I'd say it seems to attract a younger crowd, more along the lines of the 17 and 18-year-olds who aren't quite legal enough to get into bars. And younger kids or early 20-somethings as well, at least compared to the other parts of the city. And here's the Firkin. They've got this nice patio set up on the sidewalk, but they're not even open. If you park your bike in the city of Toronto, there's a good chance this is what it's going to look like when you come back. No wheels, no seats. And unlike some cities such as London, and I know most big Asian cities, particularly those in China, but also Seoul and some other places, are pretty well blanketed with CCTV everywhere. So if something does happen, there's a good chance you could at least have some video of it. But in Toronto, there's a very slim chance of that. Even if there are private security cameras hanging around, it's very unlikely the police will get access to them or even try for something like a bicycle theft. So this is Queen Street. Down to the right is Queen Street West. That's the end of the Eaton Center, and there is Saks Fifth Avenue. this is sort of the eastern edge of the financial district that I'm entering right now. Most of the city's large office towers are just off to the right here. They're not particularly well lit, and I don't have the best view of them right now, but they're all sort of lurking in the back there. It feels like I say this every video, but people really need to stop riding their bicycles on the sidewalk here. The law permits those under 14 to do that, so I guess they're excused. And of course, I think we all don't mind the odd senior citizen slowly rolling down the sidewalk. But for the most part, just don't do it. It's dangerous, it's inconsiderate, and if you don't feel comfortable riding on the street, there's plenty of side streets that run parallel to these main streets that you can take instead. And maybe riding on those will build up some confidence. It might seem like I have an axe to grind, but it wasn't like this last year at all. It's just really gotten out of hand this year, especially with delivery drivers and riding their e-bikes on the sidewalk. There's been more than a few threads on Reddit about it of people not so pleased that this really nasty trend has developed. So at night, this part of Yonge Street is typically much quieter than the area we just went through. Although coming up is one of the larger bars in this area. It's called Craft. I believe it's a Vancouver-based bar that has opened up shop here, along with the Cactus Club, which is just down Adelaide Street to the right here. One thing about those e-bikes, they're a lot like Teslas and other electric cars. They're very quiet. You absolutely do not hear them coming. I do think they're a pretty neat innovation though. Especially for the people that aren't physically able to ride a bike, it still gives them a chance to get out. There's Craft. I don't know if they have a patio space or not. This is an extremely large bar. Oh yeah, there's a patio in the back. I couldn't really get a good look at it, otherwise I would have pointed the camera in that direction. And interestingly enough, they had Blue Jays baseball on TV, and this will be the first year the Blue Jays don't play in Toronto since the team started in 1977. They will be playing their home games out of Buffalo, which is about 2 hours away. And that's where the AAA franchise plays, the Buffalo Bisons. And the reason for that was, although athletes have been granted an exemption to avoid quarantine in most situations, it's the constant travel back and forth. Having a large team such as a baseball team with all the trainers and staff continuously going back and forth from the United States to Canada. Cyclist without a light. So because of that, there will be no baseball in Toronto this year, at least not at the major league level. It's probably a wise decision given that the virus unfortunately has started to spiral out of control down south. Whereas it's been contained fairly well in Canada. You certainly don't want to increase the chances of a big outbreak. I'm not much of a NHL fan, to be honest, even though I grew up in Canada. But I do believe the city of Toronto will be one of the NHL sanctuary cities, I guess, so we'll be home to some hockey. Oh, there's another victim of bike theft. Looks like they got the handlebars, front tire, and saddle. So I forgot to mention, but we passed through King Street, and that was by King Station. So the next subway station will be the one that I'm going to, which is Union Station. I went there when I woke up to film a video, which should have been uploaded yesterday. Just look down Wellington Street, that's in towards the financial district. And just to the left is the St. Lawrence neighborhood. Oh, here's another cyclist with no light. You really should have lights on your bike after sundown, or even when it starts to get dark. It's the old Marche restaurant straight ahead.
Are you going to get the TV? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I want to get the TV.
Someone's getting a new TV. It's always exciting. I'm kind of a sucker for TVs. I seem to buy a new one every 2 years, and of course it's always bigger. I currently have a 65-inch, and I sit about 5.5 feet away from. And it already feels a bit too small. I don't know why that is. As soon as you get a big TV, it's really impressive at first, and then it just becomes normal. And then the next thing you know, if you're like me, you want a bigger one. I'm on my 4th TV in I think 6 years now. There's a look at the L Tower. This is Front Street I'm approaching, so we could keep going straight. I say we as if you're here with me. I could keep going straight down to Yonge Street, or down Yonge Street to Lake Ontario. But I'm going to turn right here and head past the Hockey Hall of Fame through a very strong marijuana smell and make my way to Union Station. I think this big building on the left here is called the Public Dominion Building. And it's currently a Government of Canada office. It's a pretty enormous building. It takes up an entire block. And there's the CN Tower straight ahead, kind of in Raptors purple and red. So look at some of the large office towers in the financial district. This is BCE Place right here, or Brookfield Place. And the time is 12:44, so I should be good for making the subway train. Perhaps this bus will spring into action later on as one of the Blue Night buses, although it's more likely that it's disabled. One thing I have noticed is although face masks and coverings are mandatory on TTC property, it doesn't seem as if a lot of the operators are wearing them. So there's a look up Bay Street. So on the left there is the rail station where you can catch the GO train, via train, the express train to the airport, as well as the odd Amtrak train. We'll be heading down into the subway platform. And I just realized I have to put my mask on. There we go. I'll be heading down and catching the Northbound Yonge Line. The other line here is also northbound, but that heads up University Avenue. That's some not depressing at all artwork they've installed here. And I can't see a screen that tells me when the next train is coming. we go. It looks like it's 1 minute away.
Line 1, walk finish. Please stand clear of the doors.
Okay, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this less information-packed
Next station.
format.
K Station.
A lot of people recently have been asking in the comments that I show my face in some of the videos. So I'll, for those of you that stuck around to the very end, I'll give you a little peek. Although my hair looks pretty stupid. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.